Nice, thank you. That's just the welcome slide, which I've already done. Welcome. It's lovely to see so many people here this morning. Slide 2, please. Thank you. So what we thought we'd do to start with, because this is a very decentralized group from lots of different places, lots of different reasons for being here, and we're all involved in making this thing happen. So what we thought we'd do is for 20 minutes, just go around the room, really simple few questions: your name, where you come from, where you live, your organization, if it's applicable this morning, and your connection to the rules as code work, and how that happens. And then I'm going to do a really fast how we got to here this morning. And then the next piece will be feedback and suggestions. So, you know, what is going to be most useful to all of us? How can we be useful to each other, etc.? And then a little bit about where to connect and how to connect and who's kind of organizing at the moment. And then we'll close, and hopefully that will all happen in 45 minutes. Fingers crossed. So I will pass to Philippa to introduce herself first to the team.
Thanks, Jo.
Yeah.
So yes, my name's Philippa. I'm from Melbourne and currently living in Melbourne. I work at Salsa Digital, and I work in the rules as code space here on both business analysis, so actually rules mapping, getting it ready for coding, and also on content and user journeys as well, to make sure that the end user journey and the content workflow works well with the rules mapping as well. So that's me. I will throw to Murray.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks a lot, Philippa. My name's Murray Woodman. I am based in Newtown in Sydney. I work at a Drupal agency called Morph, and we're involved in the GovCMS space, and we've, of course, run across rules as code and the work that Salsa has been doing there. You know, we're really keen to find out more, and just to find out some practical steps as to, you know, how we can sort of learn more about it and start getting our hands on it and implementing a few things. So more of an information discovery step at the moment to find out more. Thank you.
Do you want to throw to somebody else, Murray? That's how we'll go around.
I will throw over to Andre there, my business colleague, just sitting a little bit quite close to me there. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Andre, also at Morph. I manage UX and design at Morph and implementation for multiple clients. So it's a point of interest for me to understand what's going on in this space as well.
Throw to the next person, Andre. Who can you see?
Con, off to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Con Fountas. I work for Salsa Digital. I'm the program manager for the GovCMS DXP Rules as Code project. So I work alongside Philippa and Kate and others, and Alfred and others in the team, mainly dealing with at the program level and the commercials and what have you. And in particular, that program, I suppose, just to mention, has to do with setting up about 12 sandboxes for Australian government agencies to be able to kick the tires with rules as code, provide an end-to-end service and solution, help them mapping through and mapping or selecting the right rule sets, mapping them across, in this case, into OpenFisca, and then providing a demonstration website for them. So managing that program of work, and obviously for the RaC Guild, really interested in being able to be part of a community that isn't tied to an individual agency and isn't tied to even an individual technology, but it's a space where we can, you know, all interested parties can really just share ideas and nut out, you know, solutions to gnarly problems when it comes to rules as code, and share the knowledge. Handing over to Kate.
Thanks, Con. I'm Kate Swain in Melbourne, also work for Salsa Digital. I have been working in the rules as code space only a short time, working as project management and just making sure that we're, as Con said, we're doing some work for the Australian government on these Sandpit sites and just trying to progress those through, learning a lot. Philippa's been helping me a lot. She's comes from a bit more background than me, so been doing a lot of upskilling, and it's, you know, great space to be in. So I come from a data analytics background, so anything to do with data and spreadsheets and code and rules, right up my alley. So yeah, it's me. I'm going to pass to Ariel, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ariel Kennan. I'm joining you from Brooklyn, New York, where it is evening, not morning. So wonderful to get to join you all across the international date lines. I work at the Beck Center for Social Impact and Innovation, which is part of Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. My background is doing design and product work, and actually about a decade ago when I started working for the New York City Mayor's office, we were doing what is now called Rules as Code, and we certainly didn't call it that, nor did we have this amazing international community to learn with. And so it's been really fun over the last couple of years to get to know some of you and now see these convening spaces. I lead a project called the Digital Benefits Network, which is part of the Beck Center. We're focused largely on the digital delivery of public benefits programs in the US. And one area of our research for the last couple of years has been on rules as code and advancing this vision for public benefits in the United States, very specifically, and like pulling from a lot of the international thinking. And my colleague Tina, who I'll pass to you next, leads our rules as code community of practice. I'll drop the links. We have a great group, and she can give you more details on that, and recently launched the Policy to Code Prototyping Challenge, which we're also happy to share more about. But wonderful to be here, and I'll pass to Tina.
Thanks, Ariel. Hi, everyone. Tina Amper. I'm the community manager for the RaC Community of Practice at the Beck Center for Social Impact and Innovation. Again, we're attached to Georgetown University. And I am the community advisor for over 100 practitioners. We have a Google group, and some of you are members. So glad to see faces on names that are familiar to me. And it's a combination of practitioners from government, nonprofit organizations, technical companies, academia, researchers, and glad to reach out over to you guys down south. I'm originally from the Philippines, so that space is familiar. Thank you.
Throw it to somebody else, Tina.
Okay. Yes. So Marie?
Yep. Max has got his hand
yeah,
up.
I've already done my intro at the start.
Looks like Max, you put your hand up, mate.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'll make your life easier. Yeah, so my name's Max. I'm joining you from Washington, D.C., and I run a nonprofit called Policy Engine. We're essentially a rules as code company. So really excited to be here. We have microsimulation and rules as code model for tax and benefit policies, first in the UK, also now in the US. We're building a model in Canada, and we sort of put it into a web interface that anyone can use. Our core platform is, or the core engine framework is derived from OpenFisca. So we've just been huge beneficiaries of the open kind of movement that I know a lot of you are also very involved in. So eager to learn and share with you all.
So people we haven't.
That's not gone. Does anyone want to raise their hand too?
I'll go quickly. So, yeah, all good. So, yeah, so Alfred Deeb, founding director at Salsa Digital from Melbourne, Australia, connection with Rules as Code, the short story, Joe, I promise. So we were introduced to Rules as Code by Peter Andrews at the time, a couple of years ago. When we learned about it, we studied it a lot, and after learning it, became a big believer in the greater vision and promise for what Rules as Code can do. Since then, we contributed to a handful of volunteer projects, one of which is where we met our Kiwi friends, Joe Ullum and Hamish Fraser, who are here today. We then, from there, went to present Rules as Code as an idea, as a left field idea to the Australian GovCMS program to, explain how it could potentially be used to enable personalization. Since then, we continue to invest a whole bunch in developing our own Rules as Code skills and practice. I guess my role relative here is just to continue to learn and develop, shape a RaC strategy, I guess, and we've touched a little bit on it today. A big part of what we also hope to do is work with the Australian government to operationalise and secure, Rules as Code for Australian government and citizens. And interest here as part of this community is obviously to learn and exchange ideas, share what we're doing, share from others, and Max, take some words from your book. Is there a contribute to the overall movement? I love that. And so, hope we can help together do that. So that's me. Now, Hamish, I know you haven't gone yet, so I'm handing it over to you, mate.
Greetings. I thought I was popping into a meeting with Joe. It's nice to see you all here. I misread a Slack message, but it's good to see you all. And I'd just like to say, greetings to you, Alfred, and to Philippa, and to Colin and Joe as well, who I've obviously had a bit to do with and haven't seen for a wee while. So good to see you guys. I've just been working in this space and related spaces. I have started to describe what I'm doing as halfway through a 10-year plan, which has been to look at how we can leverage computers to re-center the rule of law within society and re-engage those who are disenfranchised by the existing systems. And that means pulling in on some of those underlying fundamentals around the rule of law, such as that law is easily understood and people can understand what it means. So that's me. I've been playing in the RaC space. More recently, I've been playing in how legislation is published and looking at how we can have fine-grained publishing systems for it so that we can tie our models more closely to it. My end goal is a highly reliable interpretation of some law, which society in general can rely on. And if you're interested in more details in that, you could have a look at the research paper that me and a couple of colleagues wrote about 3 years ago called Legislation as Code. So that's probably me. Good to see you.
Thanks, Hamish. I think we've got Tina, maybe, and Mark.
I might as well jump in. Hey guys, my name's Mark. I'm from New Zealand, living in New Zealand, working for Salsa Digital. So we started the RaC journey, as Alfred said, a couple of years ago when we volunteered to help the Benefit Me. We've started experimental, Joe and Hamish. And then since then we've been doing various other talks and upskilling, and particularly mostly in OpenFisca, and just researching other RaC tools in the movement. So looking forward to how these guilds go. And I'll pass over to Tina.
Oh no, Tina's already gone. I was reliably informed by Ariel. So Jason, you got your hand up. Did we miss you?
If you missed me, I'll contribute and then you can decide if it was worth it. I'm Jason. I was born and live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Treaty 6 territory, and currently with Thomson Reuters. I work on the co-counsel innovation team for them. But prior to that, I did a master's degree in computational law, and then I spent a year working for Singapore's Management University Center for Computational Law. And then I spent 2 years working with the Government of Canada as Director of Rules as Code, originally under Pia Andrews. And then while I was there, I rewrote a tool called Blocks that they're currently using for a bunch of Rules as Code experiments across the Government of Canada. So that's me. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. So one person left, Steve. If you're there, Steve. Steve Worley.
Sorry, I
No
just had a
worries.
phone call. I had one headphone in, answering the phone. Hi guys, I'm Steve. I work at Salsa Digital. I'm kind of working closely with Mark and Alfred to try and define the rules as code strategy from a technical perspective. So I'm kind of like the tech lead, I suppose, working basically with the team on deployments and managing scale and things like that of how we can handle rolling out rules as code for the business and for any of our clients as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. What a international star cast of rules as code people. Thank you very much indeed for coming along this morning. My name's Jo, kia ora koutou katoa. I'm in New Zealand, in Tauranga, which is in the Bay of Plenty, originally from the UK, and then via Australia to New Zealand. I've heard the name Pia mentioned a couple of times, and I think Pia is probably a key link between a lot of us. So I met Pia about 10-ish years ago. I am the founder and director of an organization called Venture Center.ai, and we are a local innovation hub. So we started working with Pia, doing real on-the-ground work, turning a local council policy into rules as code, and getting our local community to do that in our co-working space, and training quite a few young people on what rules as code could possibly be. And then, so I'm moving into the how we got here piece. So lots of interactions over a huge period of time, and eventually we got to a spot, Pia and I, where we were both thinking about what is the next thing that we should do. And essentially the Digital Aotearoa Collective came out of that discussion. We both put a list down of people that we'd love to be working with, and we kind of got them together, and we put a little bit of a plan together, which I'll share at a later date, on things that would really benefit society. Obviously, Pia coming from all of the government backgrounds because she's been all over the place. And me from a grassroots perspective, what could we do? How could we work together? We were very fortunate to be involved in, well, I'm involved in a community called the Cardano community. So enterprise application or government application of blockchain technologies, zero knowledge proofs, everything. Happy to talk about that at a later date. But obviously I'm involved in all of that. And the Cardano community had an innovation fund that was putting up some grant money. So we put a couple of proposals in, and we actually started a project called Regulation as Code for Distributed Apps. And that's where this team with Salsa and Pia and Hamish kind of came together, and we worked on a project over a period that actually ended up over a year's period. And in that time, first of all, we've created some great relationships, which is the most important thing, but also we managed to encode a few acts of the Social Security Act in New Zealand with a group of people led by Pia and Hamish, who are the experts at this, in how you actually go about turning rules into code. So about 22 people were in that group. Hamish and Pia being, and Brenda also being the leaders and having the knowledge of how to do this. And everybody got trained up in that period. And it was a wide group of expertise from the user experience, user design people, all the way through to the really nitty-gritty of Open Fisker. So working with a gentleman called Malco, who you might have come across, and with Hamish to actually structure the process. So that's how we got to here. At the end of the project, one of the criteria that was in our proposal was that we would create some kind of group that was completely technology agnostic, particularly completely government agnostic as well, so it didn't matter where anybody would come from, that would be able to be a place of support and potentially, you know, ongoing learning and sharing of opportunities, etc., that would continue on past the end of the project. And that's what brings us here. So towards the end of the project, got together with Alfred and Con and started talking about, you know, how this might work. And our biggest opportunity really is to get more people involved in this space and build a community, which would be everybody from local experts and grassroots stuff all the way through to senior government officials. So there's some ambition here, but we don't really know how to go about it entirely. I mean, there's various different community building strategies that we could use, but we want it to be decentralized. We want it to be global, and so Con, Alfred, and I are far from the experts in building this kind of global community. So this meeting, introduction to everybody, and moving into the next piece, feedback and suggestions about the idea of having this RaC Guild, global RaC Guild, and secondly, suggestions for how we might take it forward. And at this point, I'd like to open the floor and get your feedback and suggestions. We do have a Miro board, which maybe the link could go into the chat, if you wouldn't mind, somebody, Kate or Philippa from Salsa, because that's something that we've set up where maybe if you don't want to talk or you don't have time to talk or you want to put another idea on the board and need to rush off, that is a place that we're going to start collecting some of the feedback from this this introductory meeting and ideas for how we might move forward, and also any details of anybody that would like to put their hands up and get involved in organising this. So over to you. Shall I start with you, Alfred? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I guess it's maybe an elaboration of what touched on in the opening. And if I go to the agenda that's here around feedback, suggestions, and use some of those as prompters, you know, where to from here, how to be an active contributor, opportunities and events. If I think about how ways in which we would like to actively contribute. So, you know, we did touch on a little earlier, and at some stage we can go into a whole lot more detail about the role and the level of involvement that we have and the partnership that we have with the Australian Federal Department of Finance on behalf of the GovCMS program. You know, we're working with them closely with a view to put together a blueprint for operationalizing rules as code, and we'd love to produce that as an open source artifact, and all of our and to continue as part of this guild, just continue to contribute our learnings and all the things that we do and develop. And so that's I'd love to be able to share that as part of this community, as well as get feedback on it to work out, hey, well, you know, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What can we learn from other people's experiences that have gone out there and tried to operationalize, etc. And so, yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on the second bullet on how we can contribute. And the bit from where to from here, I think it goes without saying that love to, you know, have this structural and that we gain momentum, and so that we can meet on a regular basis. Time zones are always tricky. We know that. That's the battle we'll always fight and try to. I did see an email overnight about our European friends and this time not being particularly fun for them, but, you know, we got to work through that. That's a more of a logistical thing. But, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Alfred. Anybody else? For now?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm really interested to hear about, you all the different projects that have been happening. So, we've been lucky enough at Salsa to meet with Max, for example, and we found out quite a bit about Policy Engine, but I'm sure there's other people in the room who'd be interested to find out more about Policy Engine and also the great work that Tina and Ariel are doing as well. So, I mean, I think it's a really good one just to be able to share sort of, at these events, these town hall events, to kind of, do a bit of show and tell of what we're working on, what our thoughts are for evolution. I know that Hamish has been working on a lot of tech ideas. So yeah, and obviously one thing that keeps on being floated around a lot is AI and how AI can be used. So for me, I think that these sessions would be great spaces to hear about what others are doing, but also to have some of those discussions around, current solutions, potential solutions, etc.
Awesome. Show and tells. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we set up this little Miro board for that kind of purpose, really. We've kind of pre-booked in at this point, the first Monday of every month, wherever that falls.
First Wednesday.
First Wednesday, sorry, of every month, wherever.
And that's
falls.
Tuesday night for America.
Ah, thank you guys for joining on Tuesday night. And we've set up this little board with those dates down the left-hand side. And it's open for everybody to put their suggested meeting in. There's some amazing projects that we've heard a one-liner on from all over the world this morning. It would be great to do a show and tell on all of those and bring them into the community so we can all learn a little bit more from each other. What else might be something that this group might want to achieve? Tina, thank you.
Yes, I wanted to share a little bit about community feedback. So we've done surveys with our communities, community of practice, and there were 4 things that came out that the community members said they really needed, and I wanted to share that with you.
Wonderful.
Based on the need, we craft some of our future activities around these, also making sure it aligns with the goals of the Beck Center. So the first need is to find opportunities to streamline complex policies. So hello, rules as code. The second need is the need for knowledge sharing and collaboration. And so our community is vibrant. Some of you here have contributed, Max, Hamish, and Jason, I think. And the third need is the demand for training and technical assistance for benefits administrators and policymakers to understand and champion RaC as an approach to digitizing policy. We focus right now on benefits, public benefits, rules as code. And then the fourth need is a desire to establish an open standard for writing RaC and developing a shared code library. And based on these needs, so for example, we are going to be announcing in this Friday our new challenge. We call it a RaC plus generative AI challenge. So I'll put the details on the chat so you know what it's about. But essentially, we use human-centered design as one of the ways to craft our future activities, Joe.
Fantastic. There's lots of stuff in there. I'd love to hear more about your project at one of our meetings coming up. The standards idea is a very interesting one. We know about large organizations putting together standards for digital identity and various projects going on, some Stanford, I think, and Harvard projects going on in the rules as code space. But I wonder whether anybody is actually stepping up to I have no knowledge of whether there is a standard being designed at the moment. Does anybody know?
I'm certainly not aware of one in terms of kind of a broad overarching standard. There's people building tools for particular things. I'm a little contrarian about this, though. I think that the tools that we have are so few and so young that we really ought to make mistakes for about another decade before we decide what to standardize on. But that's just me. I will say, though, on the topic of what Tina was saying about combining LLMs and rules as code, that I was at the Future Law conference in Stanford a couple of weeks ago, and a more general version of that, which is like combining LLMs with symbolic AI more generally, was a major focus of kind of some of the cutting edge research there. There were 2 or 3 presentations that you could have realistically called using ChatGPT to generate rules as code from text. So very early days, but that's kind of where the cutting edge is. So that's a big thing. I think that would be exciting to people to have the opportunity to talk and learn.
Cool.
Jason, oh, sorry, Joe.
I was just going to say, let's get that on the board. As
Yeah, I was going to say that does sound very exciting. I was going to ask Jason if there's anything public that talks to that. Love to read and learn more about it. Sounds really cool.
You know, I think, so don't quote me, my recollection is that the Codex people like to publish the videos from the main conference, but they just haven't yet. Okay. So I'm anticipating it might come out in the next month or so.
Okay, cool.
Can we lock you in for June, Jason?
I mean, if at all possible, I'm going to be at all of it. So don't worry about that.
Fantastic. Awesome. So the Codex is something that we probably should reach out to the folks there at some point, and maybe also there's another community called the Legal Hackers community, who are not exactly rules of code, but they are, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, the executive director of the rules, I don't know if he still is, but at least the previous executive director of Legal Hackers is also the owner of rulesascode.com. So yeah, he's definitely interested. He was a fellow at Stanford in Codex and did some of the work there. So, and Codex does have a thing that is rules as code if the rule is a contract. They've got a contracts as code research area going on there. So it's almost a perfect overlap with what we're doing.
Wonderful. Awesome.
Max has got his hand up. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just want to, I'm so glad you're here, Jason, to tell us more about what's happening at Stanford. I have been meaning to go to one of those Codex events and haven't made it yet. So I agree, they're doing really promising work. I guess also selfishly, glad we're talking about AI. I'm giving a talk next week at a conference on some of our work in AI at Policy Engine. So we have a couple experiments around, we have a computational model that summarizes the impact of policy reform. So we sort of plug that into an LLM, and we're experimenting with a chat interface. So you can just ask, what would the impact of doubling the child benefit be on child poverty in the UK or something? And it'll sort of run that through our computational model. Actually, we are using also GPT-4 to generate policy engine code, which is kind of interoperable with OpenFisca code based on describing a policy. So I'm just going to drop in a YouTube video that my colleague did for a policy simulation library demo day, where he talks about these things. But if there's anything else you all think I could mention from the broader world at next week's, it's the National Tax Association Spring Symposium. So kind of a very tax policy oriented group, but of course, tax credits are tied into benefit policy in many ways. So I think they would be pretty interested in what we're all doing too.
Please point them at the RaC Guild, and let's see if we can get some members to come along and get involved. Yeah, that's on this Miro board to the right. If you want to shuffle to the right a little bit, maybe there's there's a place to put feedback and ideas, and then what's coming up. So obviously, Max, or I say obviously, I'm assuming that your presentation next week won't be virtual. It will be in person with the tax people. But if anybody knows of any events coming up that could be, you know, online, well, it doesn't have to be, but you know, online is great for the whole community to see. Either live events or videos, like the one Max just mentioned, that would be a good place to put them in, and then we can collect all of those and put them in a follow-up email after each session that we have, so everybody's got those in their inbox. Suggestion for an admin, an admin task to do in the ideas. Anybody else?
If I could just mention there as well that we've got on the RaC Guild website, we've got the resources page. So if there is a recording of something that you think is worth sharing, or paper or anything else, then you can actually submit that via the website, and then we'll be able to load it up onto the resources page so others can access. So yeah, and just the other thing, obviously the Slack channel. I know it's not very active at the moment, but love to see that being used a bit more to ask sort of ad hoc questions, get feedback on ideas and things like that over time as people get comfortable. Yeah, I'd love to see that activity happening on the Slack channel as well.
Awesome. We're getting to 45 minutes now, and I want to make sure that we close our first meeting on time. So the link to the Miro board will be in a follow-up email again. Please do go ahead and use it, and as Con said, get involved in the Slack channel. There are some opportunities of some other funding coming up. I saw somebody was talking about wanting to fundraise for a particular project. I'll put those on the ideas on the Miro board. But right now, I want to thank everybody for coming along. Please do get in contact through the RaC Guild page or the Slack channel. If there's anything else that you would like, I'm happy to get it into your hands. And if there are any more suggestions, and hopefully between now and our next meeting, which will be on the 5th of June, we will have some more ideas and some more structure, and really start building this community and the group.
Can I say,
just really quickly, if you want to jump on Slack, you can also, or if you know someone that needs to come on via the website, the RaC Guild.org website, you can also request to join Slack and we'll connect you in. Sorry, Philippa.
Oh, I was just going to say, it'd be great. You can see our next meeting's in June, and we've got a couple of 15-minute slots. So it'd be great if people want to perhaps add their names in there to present for next month.
And potentially even just send a Slack message to me if you'd like to do that, as opposed to going into Miro, saying I'd love to be able to present in X date or whatever. So happy to do it that way. And just one little housekeeping before we close out, please. Sorry, I know we have been recording this meeting, but we didn't actually ask for permission in advance. So if anybody does have a problem with having the session recorded, please can you let me know? Thank you.
Awesome. And yes, Ariel, we will make the Miro board editable. Great. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Jason. Awesome, guys. Well, 11:46 here in New Zealand. So I want to let you all go. Thank you very much for coming this morning. Look forward to meeting you and getting to know you a bit better over the coming months and years. We'll see you on the 5th of June. Thank you very much. Have a good Tuesday evening or Wednesday, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joan.
Thanks.
Thanks. See you all.
Bye.
Bye.